Take the hand of the person you're standing next to. Repeat after me. We are an African people. Robbed from our homeland. Robbed of our name. Our language. Our families. Our self-respect. But we shall rise. Never to fall again. Every Saturday morning, I have a rally, and I've been doing it since we started National Action Network for 23 years. We've had everybody from Hillary Clinton to Barack Obama to a victim of police brutality. No justice, no peace. Shake hands with the one you holding. Shake my hand before you leave. This is the closest thing to a home parish. It's a social justice kind of church. Meet every Saturday. So I can be in Honolulu Friday, but I'm going to be there Saturday. I miss very few Saturdays because that's where the people and I connect. That's where I give my message. But that's also where I get the pulse of people.
We're in the House of Justice, and the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house. I'd like you to get on your feet right now for the hardest working man in social justice, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice, no justice, no justice. Life, success, or failure is not about what you start with in life. Life is about what you do with what you start with. I remember one night I was riding down Laney Walker with James Brown. And as we was riding, I was talking about how my father left and this, that, and the other. And he told me, Reverend, quit complaining. My mother and father left me. Mama left when I was 3 and never met her till I was performing at Apollo. Daddy left when I was 7. I grew up at my aunt's house who was running a whorehouse. All this is in the movie. I grew up wanting to be Paul. Then wanted to be Martin Luther King. Then studied under Reverend Jackson. But at some point, Dr. Overtree, I realized I couldn't be Dr. King. I couldn't be Jesse Jackson. But I could be the best Al Sharpton the world ever saw. Quit having pity parties and have embrace parties. That's why James Brown thought about how rough it was and jumped back and said, sometime I got to kiss myself. Because if you think about what God brought you through, if you think about when somebody underestimated you and you made it anyhow, because God promised, if you be faithful over a few things, I don't care what they write about in the paper, I'll make you ruler over many things. Take my gold and multiply it. Stand up, black man. 50 years later, stand up, black woman. This is our day. This is our time. From the outhouse to the White House, we multiplied our gold. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it.
And now we take you live to the House of Justice in Harlem for another Saturday Action Rally to bring you, without further ado, one of the most prominent activists leading in this country. He is the man who is not afraid to speak up for the voiceless and stand firm on his beliefs. He is the president and founder of National Action Network and has devoted his life to helping people fight for what's right and just. He is none other than the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
Good morning. I'm, of course, Reverend Al Sharpton, president and founder of National Action Network. Being this was a holiday weekend, I am keynote speaker today in New Orleans at the Essence Music Festival. And the House of Justice and National Action Network weekly rallies you see here on Impact is going on. But I'm in New Orleans. And I want to do something special so that you can see what this ministry is all about. You can see what I feel needs to be done. And you can see what National Action Network is all about and why we feel this is our calling to do in these times what God would have us do to help you. Now, let me say as we get started, there are many of you out there watching that really have problems, real problems, that people can't get responses, can't get advice, can't get help. I want you in the course of this broadcast to call us. I have people at the phones right now. I want you to call us at 1-877-626-4651. 1-877-626-4651. And let us help you. But others of you just need somebody to pray with. Going through the holidays by yourself or with people you don't really feel comfortable with. Or you're facing a financial crisis. You hope the holiday never ends because those bills are going to kick in. The first of the month is today. Or you have a physical infirmity. You need healing. We have prayer warriors. Yes, prayer warriors at National Action Network, House of Justice. Because we are a civil rights organization, but it is church grounded. And if you need to pray with someone, call that same number right now. Say, I need a prayer warrior. I need to get through this weekend. Call it 877-626-4651. There is no separation between standing up for what's right and being right with God. There is no separation between being moral, but also defending people's rights, whether they agree with your religion or not. So don't think because we protest, and don't think because we do the activities we do, that we're not anointed and believers. In fact, we need more anointing, and we need more and stronger believers. And that's why we're going to talk about that today. While I'm in New Orleans, I'm going to call for 1,000 ministers to gather with us on the anniversary of the March on Washington, August 28th. 53 years ago, this August 28th, they marched on Washington, D.C., where Martin Luther King Jr. gave the speech that went into history, I Have a Dream. Well, 53 years later, the 50th anniversary, this organization led the commemoration. We brought almost 250,000 people to Washington to commemorate it that Saturday and to demand our voting rights be protected. That Wednesday, then President Obama and the family of Dr. King did the official ceremony. But this year, we're not calling on the masses. We're calling on 1,000 ministers to meet us at the Martin Luther King Memorial and walk with us from there to the Justice Department to say we want to keep the dream alive. We want to deal with these police shootings. We want to deal with these questions of voting. We want to deal with people having the right to health care. The men and women of God need to come and make a statement, just as faith leaders, not to attack anybody, but to appeal on the day Dr. King talked about his dream. Don't be a dream buster. If you are a man or woman of God, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. www.nationalactionnetwork.net and sign in now and say, I'm a minister. And Reverend Al, I'm going to be with you in Washington. I'm not a dream buster. I'm not going against the dream. We have not made a statement as black men and women of God that stand in the pulpit. We need to do that August 28th. That's what I want to call for at Essence in New Orleans today. And that's what I want you to do. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican. I don't care what denomination. If you are a minister, I want you to be part of that 1,000. Reverend, why don't you call for the 300,000? Y'all have done hundreds of thousands. No, this is like Gideon. I want those that'll lap water. I want the real believers that'll make that statement that day. So go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and sign in, and we'll be in touch with instructions how to meet us at the King Memorial in Washington and walk with us to the Justice Department. Just Ministers. It's going to be a powerful historic statement to see men and women of faith that bound the pulpits making a statement on the anniversary of I Have a Dream. So to give you an understanding of what we do and why in this whole ministry, I want to talk to some of the young people in the ministry, in the organization, in the growing part. Because they try to act like all young people are not interested in movements, not interested in the church, not interested in anything but just making trouble. I will guarantee you National Action Network has more young people with them than some of the young folks that claim to be speaking for young folks. So I wanted to have a conversation. So on this holiday while you kicking back, getting ready to barbecue, and eat barbecue you should be eating, but that's another Saturday I'll preach about. And hear what we do and why and where this movement came from and what we did. So I have with me head of our crisis department here at the House of Justice. The House of Justice is the headquarters of National Action Network. We have 111 chapters ran out of 7 facilities. The national facilities is the House of Justice in Harlem. We have another one in Times Square part of New York that runs our corporate affairs, fundraising and all. Then we have a third outlet in Staten Island, New York. That's 3 in New York. Then we have a Washington, D.C. headquarters. We have an Atlanta headquarters, a Miami headquarters, a Los Angeles headquarters. So we're all over the country that coordinate out of those headquarters our chapters. In the New York headquarters, the head of crisis is Reverend Kevin McCall. And Reverend McCall is from Brooklyn and is a pastor and is a young man, and you're still in your 30s, right?
30, I'm actually 30.
You just turned 30.
Yep, 30.
I've known you since you were a teenager.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then I have Katrina Jefferson, who was a liaison for our cabinet. What is our cabinet? Our cabinet is all about auxiliary, different divisions of the network. And Katrina, tell the people what church you remember.
Zoe Ministries.
You with Bishop Ebenard Jordan in the prophetic ministry.
Yes, sir.
All right. And the last one, but not least, is the head of membership, my oldest daughter. I only have 2. Dominique Sharpton, and Dominique is in her 30s. You'll be 31.
Dad, I'm 30.
I said you'll be 31.
Yes.
I remember. I was there. And of course, you're a member of.
I'm a member of the Greater Island AME Cathedral in Jamaica, Queens.
So, and Bishop, Reverend
Floyd and Elaine Flake.
And Elaine Flake. Mm-hmm. You know she threw Elaine in there because that's her pastor. Now, so you are Methodist, you are in the prophetic ministry, you're what denomination?
Pentecostal.
You're Pentecostal. I grew up in the Church of God in Christ. Started preaching under Bishop F.D. Washington when I was 4 years old. And he licensed me when I was 9. And when he died, I joined Bethany Baptist Church. Of course, since I was 13, I was involved in civil rights under Reverend William Jones, who pastored Bethany. So he was always like my other pastor. But I never wanted to leave Washington as long as Bishop Washington was alive. And when he passed, I joined Bethany Baptist and had to be rebaptized. I was baptized at 3 years old in Church of God in Christ. And then I was rebaptized in '94 as a Baptist. And my daughters and their mom was baptized with us. And she's now Methodist. They didn't have to baptize you again, right?
No.
But I've been to the water twice. I had dipped down twice. So I'm a Baptist Pentecostal.
Yes, that's a good name.
So, all right, now you all tell me. I started National Action Network 26 years ago. And tell me what y'all think people want to know. Because most people don't know how we're church-based and rooted in certain things.
Well, I mean, my initial thought was, and of course I was there, grew up in the movement, so I've, seen its evolvement. But, I guess my pressing question was, what was the urgency for you to start National Action Network? You had grown up in the movement, under the tutelage of, many icons like Jesse Jackson, but why start NAN, 1991?
Well, in 91, I had, as you said, I've been involved in the movement since I was 13. I was youth director in New York here under Reverend Jackson and Reverend Jones. I built my own youth movement when I was 16, when there was this parting of the ways with Operation Breadbasket. Reverend Jackson was my hero, so he left and formed Push. There was no Push in New York, so I formed my own youth group. And we built until James Brown became involved, the entertainer. And as I got older, I wanted to form and get back to the basic principles that we were in Breadbasket. Operation Breadbasket was founded by Martin Luther King, and I became youth director in New York the year that he was killed, 68, when I was 13. And I felt we needed a church-based civil rights movement to deal with civil rights issues. Racial profiling, the loss of opportunities, the fact that we were not getting the jobs that we were seeing others get, and protecting the vote, because you had to renew the Voting Rights Act every 5 years. So I built National Action Network to do that, because a lot of the activists were not church-based, and a lot of them were just, let's get justice, but didn't have a moral twist to it. And so I started National Action Network, 91, and I had been involved in a fight. There was a young black man, 16 years old, named Yusef Hawkins, who had been killed in a section of Brooklyn called Bensonhurst. And they would not give up the killers. And I had done several marches around other issues. I led marches in that neighborhood saying, y'all know the white guys that killed him for being in the neighborhood, y'all got to give them up. And that's why we marched. We marched for 27 weeks, and they gave up the killers. And they went to jail. One of them was in jail with Tupac Shakur. Years later, when I visited rapper Tupac Shakur in jail, he was on the same tier with a guy who told him I wouldn't be in jail if it wasn't for Sharpton March.
Wow.
And the 23rd week, though, a man ran out of the crowd. Every week we'd march, hundreds of whites would be out there throwing watermelons at us and throwing bananas and calling us monkeys and calling us the N-word. And a guy ran out of the crowd and stuck a knife in my chest. And I still have the surgical scar. I see every morning I shave. And I went to the hospital, obviously, and I was there 3 or 4 days. And while I lay in the hospital, I said, I'm coming back out. And I'm going to build a church-based movement. If I'm going to die for something. Because, I mean, when you see a blade go in you, whether it ends up killing you or serious or not, you see your own flesh wound. Then you say, I could die for this, and I want to die for more than a slogan, no justice, no peace. I want to leave an institution. I want to leave a movement. And that's when I decided I was going to come out and build National Action Network. So while I was in the hospital, I asked Reverend Jackson to come see me. The band, everybody been there. And Reverend Jackson flew in, and I told him what I was going to do. And there was a famous picture of him leaning over the bed praying with me and others. Reverend Daughtry, who comes to the Saturday Action Rally that people see on Impact every Saturday. So we went and got a headquarters on 125th Street, Madison Avenue, in the middle of Harlem, center of Harlem. And the mayor was Mayor David Dinkins, who was black, first and only black mayor, and Reverend Jackson I asked to come and initiate the opening of our headquarters. So let me show you. This is the opening of the house of that we're in, the headquarters. And that's Reverend Wyatt T. Walker, who was the first chairman of the board, who was Martin Luther King's executive director. He was the first chairman of the board of National Action Network, and he passed to Canaan Baptist in Harlem. That's Attorney Michael Hardy, who's still with us. That's me. That's your mom. That's Reverend Jackson. That's Mayor Dinkins, who was mayor. That's Reverend Toon, who's still our field director. And as Reverend Jackson cut the ribbon, he said, here's where people that are victims come. Here's where people that can't get jobs come. Here's where people that can't get contracts come. We're going to call this the House of Justice. There is a House of Justice. That's how I got the name. Jesse Jackson named it the House of Justice. And we built it from there to where everybody came. Michael Jackson. When they were trying to take his catalog from him at Sony, Michael Jackson came to the House of Justice because I'd known him since both of us were kids. And he came here to get help. So it's not only police brutality victims, everybody from Michael Jackson and Puffy Cone to victims of police brutality that nobody cared about come here to the House of Justice. And as we gained strength, Vice President Biden came, spoke at our convention, President Obama, President Bill Clinton, and as you can see here, President Obama. All of them, when we fought for Trayvon Martin, Jay-Z and Beyonce. 1971, we had a boycott in breadbasket against A&P. That's me at the first sit-in.
Wow.
In 71. Wow. And I was 16. And down there, that's where we won. They had the owner of A&P stood there with us, Reverend William Jones, and announced we won. So I've been involved from there. This is 71. It's 2017. And then committed on Dr. King. This is on the 40th anniversary of Martin Luther King's assassination. He was killed April 4th, 1968, the year I became youth director. And April 4th, on the 40th anniversary, 2008, Martin Luther King's son and daughter and I stood on the balcony in front of the motel room that he had walked out when the guy shot him. 40 years to the moment, 6 o'clock, 6:05 Central Time on 2008, April 4th. We stood there because he was shot he was shot at 6:05, 1968, and we stood on that balcony. And National Action Network had convened that. And that is the story. I mean, you can look around and you see. Here's where the New York Daily News did a profile of me when I was 16 years old. Preacher, 16, gets into act with active religion. That's my mother and I. I was still living home with my mother. And talked about how I had been the youth director of Operation Burlesque for 3 years when I was 16. This was written in 71. See there, February 7th, 71. Me and my mother, that's me preaching at Bethlehem Baptist Church as a guest preacher. That's 71. All the way to where Oprah did a special on me last year. That's you and your sister Ashley. Or Hillary Clinton comes to see us, or New York Times covers. One of my proudest photos is when 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. We had a black president, and he came down to Selma and led the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge to show 50 years later that those that were beat on that bridge didn't get beat for nothing, and that he was the president, a black man. And he came in 2013, and I was the preacher, and he marched across that bridge. And there's him holding hands with John Lewis, who's now a congressman, who was beat that day 50 years ago, and President Obama had me right behind him as he held hands with those that had marched that day, and I marched across that bridge. That's one of the proudest photos of my life, to walk with right over the shoulder of the first black president 50 years later over the Edmund Pettus Bridge and with President Obama. But another proud photo is Muhammad Ali and I clowning. I knew Ali well like I knew James Brown. This is the family of Terrence Crutcher, just killed last year. Father minister, part of the gospel music workshop, Elder Crutcher, came here to New York. That's all them on the stage here as we fought for them. This is a picture of President Obama and all of the civil rights leaders, the five that work with him in the White House, and he's picking on me about something. I got my hand up and he's pointing at me, Sharpton, you take care of that. That's in the White House. And so it's a lot. I spoke here at the funeral of one of the people killed in the church in Charleston. And I flew down and spoke at two of the funerals, and that's at the funeral and the story there from the Post and Courier. So a lot of people just think we just make noise. When people support National Action Network, they're supporting people we open every day, all over the country, doing a lot of things we never get attention for. We have a whole building in Newark, New Jersey, that our New Jersey chapter started. So all of this is real hard work. I think it's good we have this conversation so people see behind the headlines and behind the what they see. This is what we do. And that's why people ought to support what we do. Because a lot of people can't go to marches. A lot of people can't go to rallies. A lot of people, if I go, I'll get on television and lose my job. They can send $5. They can send $10. They can pray for us. Right. And they can understand what it is that we do. So I hope a lot of people on the holiday watch this. So they can say, no, I watched that. He's been doing that all his life. And before I even knew what a career was, before I could ever make $1, I'm doing this because I was called to do it. And then I thank God that I've been able to live long enough now to train a generation like y'all behind me that will keep this going and keep the work going, that are also church-based. Because if it wasn't for Reverend Jackson, Reverend Jones, and others training me, I wouldn't be able to have done what I'm doing. And I owe it because they planted seeds in me, and you keep it going.
Well, Reverend Sharpton, that was a great, testimony in terms of your life.
In terms of what, let's go back until when you were younger, growing up 16 years old. You was a boy preacher and you came up there. Was other ministers that was around that you didn't believe that will be able to support you back then that didn't have that aspect?
When I started preaching, I was 4. Like I said, I was licensed and ordained at 10. By the time I was 16 in civil rights, there were some that were against me in civil rights work. I had two things. I had those that were against us being with Dr. King, because I was in New York, and New York had a lot of people that were more, Malcolm X kind of followers, who we respected, but they were from a different ideology in terms of nonviolence and Christian ethos. So you had that. But then you had those in the Christian faith, Baptist and Pentecostal, that said, oh, y'all dealing with the world. Y'all on the backslid. Mm-hmm. And that boy should be out there just preaching and healing the sick. And because I come out of the Pentecostal church. And I said to them that I can do all of that and do that. I preach every Sunday somewhere. But God didn't call me the pastor. He called me to have a civil rights organization for pastors, everybody, that other pastors can work with. And that's not dealing in the world. That is bringing what the Bible talks about, wrestling not against flesh and blood, but principalities. The whole exodus of the Israelites was a civil rights movement, freeing slaves. The whole Bible deals with pharaohs and oppressors. So what are you talking about? I'm getting out of the book. That is the book. But a lot of people didn't want to be involved. So I had to face that opposition of those that say you wasn't in the Word and really hadn't read the Word, and those that felt they were more militant than us because they were violent. And then just you run into young guys, this old guy preaching jealousies, try to keep you down. and all that. And that don't just happen civil rights, that happen church life, you know. But I believe that God will raise you up no matter what and hold you up. And when your time is over, your time is over. And when your time is begun, there's nothing that can stop.
Well, we know you referenced Reverend Sharpton, your mother, and we know that she made her transition on the day that you were in progress or en route to Sanford, Florida, regarding Trayvon Martin. How do you, being the leader of such a great organization, when you're faced with challenge or when you're faced with tragedy in some cases, how do you find the strength to move forward, and what is it that keeps you going?
You know, I get up every morning. I'm usually up by 5, the latest, which is usually before dawn. First thing I do every morning is, wash your face. I get on my knees and pray. I'm still one of the old-fashioned people. I get on my knees and pray. I was taught that get on your knees. And I thank God for another day. And to me, it's not just a ritual. Because when you look at a scar on your chest every day that you could have died, every day is precious to me. I've been arrested leading marches many times. Twice I was sentenced to 45 days in jail, once 90. So every day I wake up and the bars are not in front of the room I'm sitting. It's a blessing. So I got double reason to thank God. I woke up, and I think about the night wolf, and I can walk out to the bathroom. So that's the first thing I do is thank God. And then I read a scripture. I always lay out different scriptures every day. So I'm grounded in my faith. And I sit and meditate and I think about the day I'm going to face both praise and opposition. I'm out, people will stop, can I take a selfie? Can I get an autograph? I love you. And I'm going to face people writing nasty things in newspapers and telling lies and jealousy and envy and some on social media. I took a Father's Day picture, went viral, all kind of stuff you gonna get. I get my head set for that. So if you are prepared and grounded spiritually and grounded and you know your role you play, then you take anything that the day has. Always set your day by setting yourself and reminding yourself every day you owe it all to God and what God has given you, who you are and what you're about. Because if you don't center yourself in your calling, you'll be available to whatever wows people may come with during the day. Oh, let me tell you what I got for you, McCall. You can do so and so. Oh, let me tell you something, Katrina. Dominique. But if you already grounded at daybreak, no, this is who I am. This is why God put me in the earth, and I thank Him for it. Well, that don't fit what I'm doing. Looks good, yep. Could make a lot of money, but because you're grounded. So I got up that morning, went through what I do every morning, and ran down and got in the car to take me to the airport. I promised Trayvon Martin's parents that I would come lead this, which became the first big rally. We ended up over 10,000 people there that night. Because they had come to us because they couldn't get the national attention that they wanted on Trayvon's killing, and they refused to arrest the guy that killed him, George Zimmerman. So I knew their lawyer, Ben Crump, a great lawyer, attorney Ben Crump. I'd worked with him on another case in Florida, and I trusted him, so I said, I'm coming. I got the former governor of New York, only black governor, David Patterson. He's meeting me at the airport. And me and my assistant, we headed to the airport. Got in the car. My daughter knows. After I'm going through all my rituals, then I'll check my phones. Because I don't check voicemails, emails, nothing after I go through all that. Because I don't want none of that to set my day. I want to first set my day with God and alone. Then I read the other stuff. You get everybody else in your head before you got God and your self definition in your head, you get confused. The rest of your day gonna be messed up because you be hearing all these noises. So I'm in the car and I hit my voicemail. And the second voicemail, now it's about 5:15 then, because I'm getting a 6 o'clock flight to Orlando, Florida, to drive over to Sanford. Because I've got to get down there early enough because I do 3-hour radio show every day. And at night, I was doing my TV show that comes on every Sunday now on MSNBC. I was doing it every night. So I wanted to be on the ground early. Second call, my half-sister, stepsister, y'all call it, Tina, who lived in Alabama, from Alabama. My mother, from my mother's first marriage. And my mother had me in Brooklyn and my sister, but she returned to Alabama after many years. She lived up here 30 years. So she died in Alabama in a nursing home. She had dementia. And Tina left a message, mother passed, and called me. Now, mother had dementia for 8 years, and the last week or so before she died, she wouldn't eat. And Tina was calling me, telling me she wouldn't eat. So I knew it was close. But when you hear the message, how you prepare for it, you can't prepare for your mother leaving. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I sat there, and I said, well, I need to go to Alabama and see about the arrangements for my mother. And then I thought about what I just went through, my self-definition, my calling. And I thought about nobody celebrating my calling more than my mother. Imagine your 4-year-old kid say you want to preach. Most mothers would say, boy, go to your room. I would set up my sister's dolls. And whatever Bishop Watson preached that Sunday, I come home and put my mother's bathrobe on and preach what he preached to the doll, almost word for word. And my mother would sit there and encourage that. So my mother believed in me, was my first believer. And I said my mother would want me to go do this rally. She would not want me to deviate. And I got out. I called the young lady that does press for us, Rachel Nunling, and said, you may get a lot of calls. My mother passed last night. And you can confirm that she passed. But I will still be in Sanford, Florida. And she said, Rev, you can't do that. And I said, Rachel, I didn't call you to argue. It's bad enough my mother's passed. Just let people know, because I don't want it to get out in the press and people think the rally's off. Right. And she put it out. We got on the plane, so Governor Pass got on the plane. And he and I were not seated together. And we flew, and I thought the whole flight down there about memories of my mother, how she used to take me around when my father had left us. She would get little things together. She became a domestic worker. And she would make sure she had enough money so we had train fare for me to make it to whatever church I was preaching at and all that. And she stood by me all the way. And I think the strength I have is that morning devotion and knowing who I am and where I am. And it also gives you not only the strength to go through like your mother's death, but to deal with attacks, to deal with envy and jealousy, to deal with seeing other people get bigger or smaller because you know who you are. And no matter what somebody else gets, they can't get what God gave you.
Well, I mean, I have a question. NAN has helped a tremendous amount of victims and really been staples in the community for change. Do you see light at the end of the tunnel? What advice would you give to some of the younger leaders who are out there who may not feel like we have that strength at times, because we constantly see, our peers being shot down and killed and there's no justice, I mean, what advice would you give some of our younger leaders that are out there that are trying to, fight the good fight? How to stay in the fight, how to look for the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I think the answer is that there's never been a real struggle that needs the fundamental change that happened overnight. If you look at Nelson Mandela, one of the things that I was honored being around Mandela several times is he would always remind us, he went to jail 27 years. Never thought he would get out. 16 years, he was not allowed to touch his wife. She could only visit her once every 6 months, and he could only touch the glass. 16 years. It was against the law for them to even put his name in the newspaper. They wanted people to forget him. And he sat there and won. Walked out of jail 27 years later, went from prisoner to president. The Montgomery bus boycott in this country, Dr. King and Rosa Parks. I was honored to speak at Rosa Parks' funeral. Started in 55. They didn't get the Civil Rights Act until 64. It took 9 years. Martin Luther King's house bombed, stabbed. So, but it changed South Africa, what Mandela did. It changed America, what Dr. King did. So, guys that think they can go to 2 rallies in 1 march and the whole world's supposed to change have not really understood what struggle is. That's one. But second, to address the part of your question about it keeps happening, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You don't fight for victories. You fight because that's your calling and you have to. And the victory or the defeat is up to God. The fight is your responsibility. I made a deal when I did those 90 days in jail for, I went to Puerto Rico to protest the Navy bombing that was causing asthma for young Puerto Rican kids. And I went, led the march, had no idea I'd do 90 days in jail, but I did. And I made a deal with God that if I stand up, I'll do my part. Your job is to hold me up. And I try to keep my end, and he sure has kept it. And I think too many of us, that's why this is a church-based movement, too many of us want guarantees. The only guarantee you got is that he will never leave you or forsake you. Rest of it, you are not guaranteed victory. You are not guaranteed all defeats. You are guaranteed he will not leave you alone. Now, in the end, there will be victory, but you may not see the victory. Dr. King died before he saw a black president. He was killed, never saw it. Mrs. King never saw it. You may not see the victory, but the victory will be won. But if the victory is only a victory if you're there, then it ain't a victory for the people or for God. It's about you. You got to fight and be willing to say, I'm going to fight even if I don't see the victory. I'm going to fight even if I never wear the championship belt. Because my job is to fight the good fight. And I think that too many young people in this social media age are fighting for likes on Facebook and likes on Instagram and want to see themselves in victory rather than see themselves in the struggle. Somewhere in the Bible I read that if he that findeth himself shall lose him, but he that loseth himself for my sake shall find it. And you are not really, really an activist or anointed till you lose yourself in the cause. And it's not about you scoring victories. It's about the cause. It ain't about you.
Well, Reverend Sharpton, you said a lot in terms of the history, in terms of things that you've been through. And into the young people that have the faith and they continue to go stronger. But what would you say to the person that is going through? They may not have a issue with their crisis in terms of a crisis, but they may have issues in their body and they don't have any jobs and they don't have any direction. What would you say that, how can you be able to encourage someone to deal with that aspect, being that you're a faith-based institution? That if they have the faith, they have the faith, but they don't have the courage to be able to stand up to what the infirmity that's in their body or the issue of not getting together with their family and losing a family member.
That they've got to pray for the strength to let God bring them down the path he's chosen. A lot of us, our fear is based on being cowardly. And you've got to be willing to say, whatever I got to face, that I want God to give me the strength to face it. Why don't you go back and reconcile your family? Because you're afraid of rejection, or you're afraid to have to deal with
maybe you did wrong, or you're afraid of whatever. You got to stand up to that. Well, I might be the one wrong, or they may never accept me, but I'm going to face that because I got to get past that. My father left me, my mother and sister when I was 9. Broke up our family. We went from a very nice middle-class family into poverty, and you know the whole story is why. For years, I didn't want to talk to my father. But I had to face my father to become who God wanted me to be. And whether it was I was afraid that he had abandoned me, therefore he had rejected me, whatever it was, at some point you got to say, I got to be strong enough to do this, to do that. God got me ready to do that, but I got to get past this. Or I have this illness. Well, just like I didn't order the illness, I cannot order the healing, but I can believe it's going to come. And I'm going to pray for God to heal me, and even if he don't heal me right now, I'm going to keep doing this work sick. That's the kind of strength you got to have. When I left the hospital in 91, stabbed, you know, you have to teach you how to walk again after surgery. And we were going to have a Martin Luther King march that Saturday. And I said, I'm going to the march. And I went to the march in the wheelchair. And I kept saying, I have enough strength to march. And little by little, I was walking every day because I was determined I was going to march across that Brooklyn Bridge and show them that stabbing me didn't stop me. And that morning, I was pretty good, but I couldn't walk the whole bridge. But I had made up my mind that it was more important to go, if I had to go halfway in a wheelchair, to show myself and my obedience to God that I was going. And some of us want God to give us everything to make it easy. He didn't give it to his son. His son had to go to the cross. So you want a resurrection without going to no cross? There can be no resurrection without a crucifixion. But the harder the test, the higher the grade. It's like going to school. When I was going to school, you had first grade tests, but third grade test was harder than first grade because you're going to fourth grade now. And then when you got to high school, it's harder. They had a Regents exam then, and the SAT score. That determined college. People want college ranking passing kindergarten test. You got to pass harder tests to get a higher rank. So now when I face a real crisis, I used to stress. Now I said, I must be getting ready to go to a higher place because God wouldn't give me a harder test if he wasn't bringing me to a higher place. Harder the test, higher the place.
Well, let's take it back a little bit. We know that you have worked for, alongside some of the biggest names in entertainment, sports, politics. And you mentioned earlier the time with James Brown. What is one of your most memorable moments with him?
James Brown's son, Teddy, was the same age as I. And Teddy had come to New York from Georgia. James Brown's family was from Georgia. He wanted to go to law school up here and be a lawyer. Some of the disc jockeys that knew James Brown, therefore knew Teddy Brown, told him there's this teenage preacher that does all the civil rights work. You ought to meet him. Same age as you. And I was about 17, 18, and Teddy was the same age. We met. And he would come to my youth meeting. Teddy got killed in a car accident that year, 73, upstate New York. And the disc jockeys told James Brown that Teddy used to come around this preacher his age and all of that. And if James Brown wanted to do something in memory of Teddy, he should do it with me. And James Brown sent for me. He was performing in Newark, New Jersey. I went and met him, Symphony Hall. And he wanted to do a memorial. We did it at the R.K. Albee Theater downtown Brooklyn in memory of Teddy, and he gave the money to the youth movement. Now that's where the Albee Mall is, but that used to be a theater. And I did the show, promoted the show the way he wanted. He gave us the money. Then I kept talking. And over a period of time, he started really supporting my youth movement. Took me to L.A. and put me on Soul Train to give him an award. That was the biggest show in the world for black folks then. But I think the moments I most remember is as I got older and he and I became like father and son. I guess I always felt I became like Teddy, who he lost. We were the same age. And he became the father that had left me. My father used to conk his hair like James Brown and used to take us to the Apollo to see James Brown. So we had this bond. I hope you get an understanding at home of what National Action Network is about. Every Saturday we're on, and you go hear messages from me and others. But I wanted you to hear an interchange with some of the young people to understand where this comes from and where it's going and why you should be a part of it and why you should support it. And I need you to, right now, go to the website, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and help us continue this movement. I also want you that are carrying that burden, that maybe had just a speckle of hope when you heard my story, to call one of our prayer warriors right now and turn that speckle of hope into a seed of faith. Because just like God has used us to change laws, he can use us to help change your life. Call 877-626-4651. God bless you. I'll be back next Saturday with a message.
Thank you for watching another Saturday Action Rally, live every Saturday morning from the House of Justice in Harlem. National Action Network for the last 26 years has been on the forefront, devoted to working on in our community around the country with our over 100 chapters, our regional offices. But we do more than protest. We have tech centers. We have a 24,000 square foot center in Newark, New Jersey, where we're teaching young people technical skills, how to deal with the internet. We have the same in Harlem. We also are dealing with voter rights as well as fighting to preserve health care. Many of the things that you believe in, but you may not participate in directly. Well, our ministry is to make the word flesh. Paul said in the Bible, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. We wrestle against wickedness in high places. So you may never march. You may never go to a rally. You may not get out there and help us with tech labs. But you can join National Action Network and you can contribute. You can go right now to www.nationalactionnetwork.net or call at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and join and be a part of this organization. It's an organization that has had President Barack Obama come and be a part of it. Everyone to Hillary Clinton have come. We work with Republicans, Democrats, people large and small. It does not matter as long as we get the work done. We want you to be a part of it, support it. You know, from many, many years, we've been on the forefront. We've been the vanguard. You can quietly support us. You can text the letters NAN to the number 59769. That's NAN to 59769. And, of course, go to our website or call us at 1-877-626-4651 and contribute, be a part. If you can't ever come out with us, you can support us. We'll see you next Saturday live right here on Impact. Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, our chairman. I'm the president. We'll give you a report every week on what we're doing, where we're doing it, all over the National Action Network. If you can't join us and you can't donate this week, pray for us. No justice, no peace.
As Reverend Sharpton said, National Action Network chapters are organizing and mobilizing across the country for change, consistently on the forefront, advocating for rights and mobilizing around issues such as healthcare reform, education inequality, police misconduct, criminal justice reform, voting rights, and economic inequality.
Gardner is not a nobody, as thousands came to Staten Island on Saturday to protest his death, an army of supporters marching behind Gardner's family.
Nan has proven through and through to be the essential voice for the voiceless, and devoted almost 3 decades to being active in the fight for justice and equality for all who deserve.
Remember, there were decades in which people sacrificed and worked hard. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it happens as long as we don't purposely give our power away. Every obstacle put in our path should remind us of the power we hold in our hands each time we pull that lever or fill in that oval or touch that screen. We just have to harness that power. We've got to create a national network committed to taking action. We can call it the National Action Network. So I want you to go out there and redouble your efforts. Register more voters. Help more folks to get their rights.
Establishing crisis centers, mobilizing around issues that affect us most, developing the next generation of leaders and activists with Nan's Youth Move and Nan Youth Huddle, and implementing models for institutional change with projects like the Newark Tech Center.
We've also built a very vibrant and potent technology department. The Nan Newark Tech Lab, a whole building that we partner with Panasonic under the vision and leadership of Reverend Steffi Bartley, our New Jersey coordinator, and the chair, Reverend David Jefferson.
Not only am I a part of the National Action Network with the social issues, but when I mentioned earlier about education, we are currently right now in one of the high-tech technology centers throughout the state of New Jersey. We have 10 gigabits. We're partnered with the city of Newark and one of the leading corporations, which is Panasonic. Panasonic, so many years ago, they come to the city of Newark, but we wanted to know what they were doing in the city. And so we sat down with the CEO, Joseph Taylor, under his leadership, and the general counsel, Damian Atkins, and said, how can we make a difference? And so here we are, sitting here today. You would come and visit Tech World, 27,000 square feet, where we're educating our community. You need to come see it. It is what the National Action Network is all about under the leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton.
Nan works in the spirit of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. to be vigorous in doing vital and necessary work to activate, motivate, and rejuvenate change in this nation and reform communities nationwide. At a time where everything is at stake, we invite you to join Nan by donating, volunteering, becoming a member, but find your voice and your way to be an active participant in change. Thank you for joining Nan for another Saturday Action Rally. No justice, no peace.